Focus for maximum picture quality, and please adjust sound for maximum clarity.
Just hold over here, man, please. Hold.
When did this start? What was the first step of this fatal trip?
Why don't you say it? Marijuana. All the uptight people say it. Why don't you say milk? She had milk, too.
Well, now that you mention it, she did have milk. It was the first food in her life. But most of us started on milk. Mother's milk or formulas. And most of us are not heroin addicts. So it would seem that the milk argument is either silly or dishonest, because the same thing could be said about orange juice, tomato juice, prune juice, apple juice, frosteds, or water. And we also agree that it isn't true that all people who drink the drug called alcohol or smoke the drug called marijuana will become heroin addicts. Well, what is the truth? Since we all agree that it isn't the food we eat or drink that can make us become heroin addicts, it must be something else. So, since we're talking about a drug called heroin, let's find out from young heroin and ex-heroin addicts if it was a drug. And if so, what drug was it that started them off? But first, since most of us believe that we are not the type to become heroin addicts, because we are different, let's look at some average young people, very much like yourselves, from 14 to 19 years old. Let's really look into their faces. Let's see if there's anything about them that's different from you. Something that would make you say, wow, that's a real drug addict, a dope fiend. Which one of them looks like a heroin addict to you? Like a heroin addict to you? Him.
History.
Her. Her.
Yeah, that's all we do.
Some of them.
Him.
Oh, Kim.
Him.
Steve.
Which one? What did you decide? None of them? Some of them? All of them? Let's ask them. Which one of you is, or should we say, has been, a heroin addict?
I have. Me too.
Me too.
Me also.
I have. Me too.
I have.
I have too.
Let's go 3,000 miles across the country to the Horizon House in the ghetto streets of New York City's Lower East Side. Let's see if we can discover what made these young ex-heroin addicts start using heroin, especially when they knew how dangerous it was. Was it something inside themselves? Was it another drug? Was it because of poverty, the way they lived? And perhaps we can learn what made them cross the drug barrier and what was the first drug barrier they had to cross.
And the first drug that I used, I started off drinking, then I went on to marijuana.
What were you drinking?
I was drinking wine, beer, and then when I started using marijuana, the high I was getting from it, you know, I wanted something better, because it was not, it wasn't it didn't satisfy me too much after I was using it a while. So I went on to pills.
What kind of pills were they?
Trunals, Downs.
And all this happened while you were going to school?
Yes.
What grade were you in at that time?
I think I was in about 7th grade in junior high school.
I started drinking liquor and wine, beer, you know, all kinds of beverages. And then after that, I got into the hard stuff. I started snorting. And I snorted it for, let's say, about 6 months. And then after that, like, my friends, they were all skinning and manning, so I wanted to do that too, because, like, I wanted to be with them, you know. Like, everything that they did, I wanted to do it too. So I just went right ahead, you know, like, you know, I was even scared. I was scared of needles. Like, you know, when I was small, I used to say, oh, I'll never take drugs. I'll never put a needle in my arm. But like, you know, when it came up to the day that the needle was there, and I was gonna say, all right, I'll take it. Like, I wasn't scared anymore.
I first started out smoking marijuana, you know, with my friends. That was the first thing they started out doing. You know, I just like went along with them, started smoking, you know, smoking on the weekends. Then we started smoking every day. And then like we felt, you know, that it wasn't really, you know, doing nothing for us at a period of time we were doing it. And like, you know, we felt that we should go on to something, you know, stronger. So they started, you know, shooting heroin. And at first, you know, I didn't want to get into heroin because what I used to hear about on the newspaper and on the radio about kids ODing and all this, you know, it had me kind of scared. But, you know, I just went along with it, like, to be accepted with them. I felt that if I didn't do it, that they would, like, push me aside or something like that.
I had lots of time in my hands, and I had a group of friends that I hung out, and we really had nothing going. And there were some people, some guys and girls around the neighborhood that were really known as the most together people in the Lower East Side. You know, tough image, get high, you know, dealers, you know. I started hanging out with them because I liked their tough image. You know, like nobody would mess with you if you hung out with them. And I started like taking pills and medicine.
First drug was marijuana. And like it started like me going to school and like seeing my other friends like, you know, use it and like, you know, get a high from it. And like I wanted to be accepted by them because like I had a problem with my family.
My first drug was alcohol. I was staying with a group of older people and I had a lot of time on my hands. So one evening everybody got together and put in a little bit of money and we had bought some liquor and we drank. And it took this uneasy feeling I had away as far as being with people, being on the streets, away from home. And from then on, I went to marijuana and I smoked this for about 2 months straight. And I found out that I didn't have a physical habit from it, but I had a psychological dependency on this drug. And if I didn't have it, I wouldn't get sick as far as the way heroin does. But my mind wasn't functioning right. I couldn't be around people. I couldn't be comfortable without it.
When I was 12, I met this guy. He was about 26. And my friends were going to buy some acid from him. And they couldn't come up with the money, so I lent him the money. And he wanted to turn me on, and I was scared. And he said, well, you know, I didn't know too much about drugs. I only knew what, like, you hear in the newspapers and everything. And he said, well, don't listen to what they tell you, because, you know, they don't know. They never did it. I did. I tell you, it's great. It's a lot of fun. So I got turned on. I got high.
Thousands of miles away from here, in a group that includes kids from rich, poor, and middle-class homes, kids from families that get along, and kids from families that don't get along, and kids from broken homes. There's something we still need to know. Did any of you turn any of your friends on to heroin?
Sure, I have. I don't want to be the only one.
Yeah, I turned people on. I didn't care if they were my friends or not. I just wanted to have company.
Yeah, because I like to give things to people and share things with people. And so if I had any extra dope around, you know, you give it to them. And just hope, you know, they get the same thing you did.
Sure, because when I used to get loaded, I felt more comfortable around people that were loaded.
No, not really. I usually wait for them to turn me on.
Yeah, I turned some of my friends on for the first time. I was selling it and I had to get them started to support my own habit.
Did you know that it was addictive when you turned others on? And if you did know it, can you tell us why you did it?
Yeah, but I had the stuff and I just wanted to get rid of it and make a profit off it. I didn't care if it was addicting.
Sure, but I really didn't care at the time.
Yeah, sure, but I didn't care. If they wanted to take it, that's the chance they'd have to take. Yeah, I knew it was addictive, but you just don't want to think about things like that, so you just block them out of your mind. And I don't know, now I feel really bad about it.
That wasn't my problem at the time. I needed the money to support my own habit. What happened to them I really didn't care about.
What you've seen is true. No one made any of these young people say anything they didn't want to say. They said what they did because they know what being addicted to heroin can do to you. The addict knows that when you're addicted to heroin, especially if you're addicted long enough, you'll need more and more heroin to keep from feeling the withdrawal pains. So that sooner or later, as you take bigger and bigger doses, you may give yourself an overdose and die. The addict knows that when you need heroin because every cell in your body hurts, you'll do anything to get the money for it. Anything. Things you'd never believe about yourself. And they know that if you keep doing things against the law long enough, you'll get caught.
Okay, hold it. Freeze.
And when the pusher thinks you might tell the police about him, he can get rid of you with a very high-powered, pure heroin dose. Every year, thousands of teenagers die from heroin. Now, wouldn't it be a shame not to be a mother, a father, because you died from an overdose? By now, we've learned that heroin can be the last stop on a no-return, one-way trip for the thousands of young people who broke their drug barrier with alcohol. However, to many thousands of heroin addicts, marijuana was the first drug barrier to be crossed. For far too many young people, trying the first drug makes using the next drug easier. You may want to consider this. This final result is never started by mother's milk.